Well, will you look at that? An episode of Rail Natter after what feels like a millennia, but it is in fact merely a couple of weeks. 5 years of this thing. 5 years of Rail Natter. Good grief. It's lovely to have you all along. Hello, indeed, Gareth. Of all the people to comment first, it's nice that it's you. Hello, Gareth. How are you? I'm very well. I say that I'm knackered. I was up at 5 a.m. And I was having a nice snooze on the train home, as is a nice thing to do, and it was an empty train. And I was quite reasonably, although admittedly frustratingly, asked to move from my seat in the empty carriage by someone who had got on at Doncaster when the train was terminating at York. And I was dozing happily, and the person woke me up saying, "Oh, this is my seat in an empty coach." I would say don't do that. But, equally, they can do that. Hogs can't lose. Hogs can't lose. Sean Ferris, you're absolutely right. Pythagorean. Hello, good evening. All the familiar faces. Hello, everyone. Thanks for your patience with the pause. I was snowed under. There was too much going on, and I just couldn't get an adequately high-quality Don't Laugh pre-record set up for you. In the meantime, there was I've forgotten to put that in as a plug. There's another Trash Future episode recorded. It's a bonus episode, but that was a couple of weeks ago. So if you want to catch up, and the PWI seminar that I delivered last month on a little bit of railway history, early railway history in there. A lot. A few bits and pieces for you to pick up. So that's available on the Permanent Way Institution website. YouTube. Well, it is there, but it's on the YouTube channel. You can go in and find that, and it's in the announcements section of the Discord server if you want to go and find that. So if you want a little bit more of me yakking about stuff, then you can go find that. But we are here. We're live, and it's episode 253 of Rail Natter. We are talking about the brackets draft Mid Wales Regional Transport Plan. I'm not going to name her, but this was suggested by someone via email, a listener of the show. She said she was very pleased that we, enjoyed the show and so on, but keen to talk about local transport, something that's really important to in her part of the world, and funnily enough, also my parents' part of the world, because this is very much where my folks live, this area. So shout out to the Mid Wales Posse. We've done a little bit on rural transport in relation to the Isles Connectivity Review. This is slightly different. This is not about islands. This is about just a very large area that's hilly, geographically messy, and pretty low population density, as well as being an aging population and a struggling economy. So an interesting thing to worry about from an interesting provision challenge from a transport perspective, particularly from a sustainable transport perspective. So something that I'm interested to have a look at. And we're going to indeed be looking at the draft document, and I'm going to try, and don't laugh, I'm going to try and keep it to the hour. We're going to try and hammer our way forwards and skip bits and make sure that we round this off in an hour as best as we can. And a lot of news has happened since the last episode, which we won't be covering today, because I think we're going to wrap up. There's a bit of news. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that has happened. Feel free to shout at me of things you think are newsworthy. I've been not ignoring the news, because I don't do that. I don't think it's a useful way to live your life, ignoring the news. But there's just so much going on that's just bleak going on the other side of the pond, and bleak on this side of the pond, that I've been narrowing my focus on things that I think are natter worthy. Let's put it that way, and trying to focus on what we can and cannot be mucking around with in the form of quite a few consultations. Of course, the consultation going on right now is the important one is the national, or rather certainly England's GBR consultation, and I'll just say on that front, I will absolutely advocate the position of, well, now the Transport Select Committee, but also the Association of British Commuters and others, of which the Campaign for Level Boarding have put their name against the letter, saying that accessibility, among other things, should absolutely be a statutory requirement rather than having been watered down by the current government. It's unacceptable that they have watered it down. They should not have. Anyway, among many other things. What's the first thing we're going to do? Well, we're going to have a look at the COVID stats, because we haven't looked at these for ages. I know it's 5 years. It's also worth saying 5 years on since the first lockdown at this point, isn't it? Good grief. Which makes some sense, because that's what RailNat was popping up in, wasn't it? So 5 years. And yet this is still relevant. It's a relevant data set for us to be picking through, because, as you can see, by me not pressing print on this web page, but in fact going in here and pressing Control P so that I don't inadvertently move slides around, you can see now that consistently since the start of the year, rail has, relative to pre-COVID levels, has the highest use compared to pre-COVID levels, versus cars and taxis in red and buses in blue. you can see that quite substantially greater demand for rail travel than for cars, which I find very interesting. Portugal's government did fall over. Yes, that's very true. There is so much going on. Yeah, there are lots of news, but we'll pick through that. We'll pick through that next week or tweak after. But this is interesting. This is just very interesting. I'm interested in anyone's statistical thoughts. If we had Ditour in here, it'd be interesting to see what she thought. Others what they can interpret of the data. But it's very interesting to me that the rails demand. We're seeing all this rhetoric coming from government and their enablers in the likes of Sir John Armitt, coming out with roads, but actually rails demand is higher in in relative terms than roads demand, and we don't see people saying we should be closing roads anytime soon. So very interesting. What caused the dip? It's an interesting one actually, because that is a dip from. It's not Christmas. It's a January dip. Did we have that snow? Did we have a load of snow at that point? It might have been snow related potentially, because we did have the adverse weather. I'm trying to think whether that was it. Anyway, yeah. I still find this dip in buses fascinating. I fascinated to understand that one. When they all happen together, it's more explainable because it's clearly a large macro effect. And similar here, there's some macro effect that's affected it. But when one, what did I just do? I just blanked the screen randomly. Anyway, did I press E in it? Oh, there we go. Yeah, fine. What did I press there? Anyway, I wouldn't worry about it. So, it is annual. Yeah, I wonder whether that is it's the post sort of Christmas dip. You can see there's just an overall, there's the sort of the same dip every year. So yes, there is always a dip, relative dip as a result of seasonality, Christmas holidays or whatever, Storm Unic or whatever it's called. Thank you, Kerr. Yes. Anyway, yes, thanks, Morwin. You're right. It is annual. Anyway, I do firstly have to make an apology because last episode was episode 252 and we did not shout out the prototype HST, which is British Rail Class 252. And of course, this is episode 253, which means we have to shout out the Western region HSTs, which were classified as multiple units, Class 253 originally, although that classification all changed this way and that way a little bit. So shout out to a belated shout out to the Class 252, and then a shout out to here. So this episode brought to you by the numbers 2, 5, and 3. In any case, everyone. Actually, what I'm going to do is briefly remind myself. Yeah, okay, we're doing all right. I'm vaguely on top of what's going on. Everyone, welcome to tonight's Rail Natter. And as the Institute 225 fades away, I'm looking forward to a little surprise related to what you've just experienced happening in Wales. For those of you who are attending the YRP annual awards and dinner, I'm hosting again this year, and it's connected to what you enjoyed watching. Absolute cinema, right? So. The news, only one piece of news because it's pertinent to this, but I just wanted to catch one little bit of news that's relevant, which is that broadly stuff is happening in Wales right now. And we've talked a lot about the fact that Wales is further ahead than anywhere else in the UK right now in terms of integrated transport. Northern Ireland's arguable, but I would say actually still, the Wales is doing pretty well on this front. And one of the things that's being looked at is views on a north-south express coach service. I think this is a very good idea. It's a good idea on a number of levels. It's a good idea because it will be quicker than the train. So let's get that going and build that sort of reliability, the trust of people that there is a north-south public transport service running north and south. But also in building demand for more permanent, long-term solutions. In particular, of course, the Dragon Line. We talked about this a long time ago, and I look forward to finding an excuse to talk about it again. If you've got a express bus service that perhaps fills in the gap between strategically is doing the job of some of this, so you're actually providing the bus that goes the whole way so people can sit on the bus the whole way if they like, but you're joining up the dots of some of these and building demand. Of course, what I would also be doing simultaneously is having express routes connecting the dots between the existing sections of railway, and providing some through ability of, multimodal through ability, making the connections to the rail routes and providing the links so that people can use the railway and pick up those connections in lieu of the rail infrastructure of actually having the north-south railway line. You provide some of those links on a shuttle basis, so not a full express coach, but pairing that with an express coach, I think is quite a good idea. And having a series of strategic connections, of strategic express coaches is not a bad way to do things. Yes, Gareth, I'm glad you're drawing attention, not me, Gareth, but Gareth in the chat. I'm glad you're drawing attention to this because, yes, this is something that's an episode that's useful for people to understand what the potential for north-south transport should be in Wales and can be in Wales, and what the right answer is very much this in terms of the long term. But in the medium term, I think, and in short term, an express coach is a very good idea. So I'm all for it. I'm interested to see what people think about that in the consultation. Not least tying into what we're going to talk about today, which is the Mid Wales Regional Transport Plan. Here it is, and I've not yet decided what its rating is going to be later. So I'm going to come up with its rating kind of while we're discussing it. I have not looked at this. I've not looked through this. I'm going to be coming to this as fresh as any of you are who are picking up the PDF. Yeah, it's interesting that people are saying that the proposals are mostly coastal on the north-south bus route. That isn't something I necessarily agree with. I think you can do both, frankly. The good thing about the bus is you could do both. But I would be pitching to provide an express route that joins all of these bits of disparate rail network. And you can also have a coast, so you can also then have a coastal route that does the same. You could even have a bit that goes coastal one way and doesn't go coastal the other way, or does this. You could run the bus. The good thing about the buses is that they can do that. But anyway, so the Mid Wales Regional Transport Plan. Let's get the old PDF. Well, first, before I get the PDF up, I've put the link in the description to the episode. This is all available on a website. It's a bit of a clunky website, but it's fine. It's functional. It's a bit web 2.1. But yeah, so it's all here to download, and it's all of it. Oh.
Wel, Cadeirydd Presennol, Cydbwyllgor Cyffredin Canolbarth Cymru, mae'r Cydbwyllgor yn gyfrifol am yr economi a cynllunio hefyd trafnidiaeth o fewn y rhanbarth.
The body is made up of the local authorities of Powys and Ceredigion, as well as the Bana Brycheiniog National Park in relation to strategic planning. It enables the local authorities to work together to improve the lives of people living in Mid-Wales.
Yn sgil hynny, ni yn edrych ar cynllun ar hyn o bryd, cynllun rhanbarthol trafnidiaeth ar gyfer y canolbarth.
The plan has been developed in line with guidance issued by the Welsh Government and will replace the previous Mid-Wales Joint Local Transport Plan that was approved in 2015. The plan sets out our vision and objectives for improving transport to meet the needs of people and communities across Mid-Wales.
We're not going to watch the whole thing, but this gives you a bit of an introduction. You can watch the whole video if you want to. What I'd say is, well, firstly, that F11 and then go back on here. What I would say is the quality of that video just about matches the level of the quality of the document in terms of how well it's been presented, and that is not this body's fault. WSP, I'm looking at you. So my first thing that I would say about this document when I open it is, oh, Word document much? And the next thing I say is, oh, golly, the formatting. Oh, boy. Oh, what a mess the formatting is here. What is... This is WSP's... Possibly WSP's kind of generic internal template, because this is a WSP document. And what a mess. Firstly, words in capitals for titles are extremely difficult to read. It's not hugely accessible. It makes it really quite difficult for anyone to read, let alone people who have various forms of neurodiversity or dyslexia. This is very difficult to read. Do not have all caps for titles like this, other than in extremely rare situations. But for the most part, do not do this. It's really, and just the formatting of this document is just lazy. It takes. Oh, that's made my little face appear, by the way. Hello, it's me in the corner. It takes so much. No, it doesn't take so much. Let me just reset my brain. It takes so little. It takes 1 or 2 days to send a Word document to an internal team that you will have as a consultancy to jazz up the document. It takes 2 days. Or, better than that, if you're leading these documents, learn how to format documents in a way that makes them appealing. Learn how to insert proper graphic slide, separator pages into the PDF as your final issue, or how to incorporate that into Word document formatting. Learn how to do this in a way that makes documents appealing to read, palatable, and not 62 pages of, oh God, okay. I open a contents page like this. In fact, I open a front page of a document like this and look at a completely generic Word template from 2007, and I go, oh boy, okay, here we go then. I just know that it's going to be a slog. You can do better, folks. You can do better than this. And also, consultancies, having been in them for most of my career, local authorities have no money. You get your big money from doing jobs elsewhere for other people, right? Local authorities, particularly small local authority groups like this, who are really trying to do the best by their communities, deserve you to spend the extra day of day rate, which is nothing, the extra day of time that you book into the timesheet or whatever it is to do the formatting of these to make them more visually appealing and therefore more palatable, therefore more accessible, is money you should be swallowing for a good cause at the same time as you're taking the MBS dollar, lads. So, come on, this is disappointing. So my first perception is this is a document that is supposed to be consumed by a lot of people, and it should therefore be visually appealing. It should be optimistic and exciting. This is none of those things instantly. So I groan of despair when I pick this document up. And just it's like, oh, here's an A-level science report. Okay. Also, what's the forward introduction? Then there's plan coverage. There's a load of stuff in the introduction broken down. Then there's some sections on engagement, issues and opportunities, vision and objectives, interdependencies and scope of the this is a support document. This is not what a plan should look like. The plan should be accessible. It should be not text heavy. If you want to know what a plan should look like, well, I'll tell you what a plan should. Let me just start button an E and go to RailNatter and go to West Yorkshire Mass Transit, and I'll show you what a plan should look like. A plan should look like something more like this. This is a plan that is out for consultation. A document that tells a story visually without even looking at the words. It's telling you a story, explaining what's going on, has things that visualize what the art of the possible is, not just in text form. Look at this document. This is all so easy to do. This does not take some genius graphic designer. I can do this. Okay, I know I do a lot of graphic design stuff, but I could do this so quickly and easily. I could do this in a day. I could take the document that they had, that WSP document, in a day. I could get it looking half as good as this document here. It does not take much. It's impressive how much of a the mapping would take me more time, but again, where's the map like this for the WSP? It's just uninspiring. You've phoned it in. Well, anyway, okay, we've not looked at the whole document, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt to start with, but that's my perception at the start. That's what a document like this should be looking like, right? And yet, what do we have? We have got something that is so much less inspiring. So let's crack on with this mess. Again, this whole thing should be the supporting documentation. You should not have a list of tables in a public-facing consultation document. Why are you wasting 2/3 of a page on a list of tables? Why are we wasting a whole page on figures and appendices? Know your audience. This is so document-wise. You're losing at least a Pandal clip, if not two, for this. This is extremely frustrating. All right, forward. So WSP, you're getting called out on this one. You can do better. I know that you have the capability to do better. Don't give your phoned in junk to the local authorities just because they're not providing you the big money. Have a little bit of imagination. Have a little bit of like, think about what the right thing, ethically think about what the right thing for you to be spending your money is, and doing right by your different clients. And here we go. Forward is a wall of text, and that's it. Okay. I'm not going to read the forward. I might read a lot that's in the introduction. So here we go. And the other thing is, like, look, you don't need figure numbers on a document. Why are there figure numbers on this? You don't need figure numbers on things. You don't need figure numbers on things. Certainly not on a public-facing document. Why is there a figure number? Okay. So this is talking about what the joint committee is. It's kind of like a combination of two kind of council areas. So it's saying that this is pertinent, so I'm going to read through this because this is some of the challenges you have in a rural area like this, a particularly depopulated and depopulating rural area like this. Ina is saying, as a local councillor, this is the kind of document that makes me groan because I just know there's going to be something very important hidden in the wall of text. Absolutely. And you know what? It's the job of the consultancy that has been paid, they'll have been paid their dues. It's the job of them to pull that out and put it front and center in the document, make it as easy to spot as possible. You can do Word document-based reports that are chunky that pull that information out. It's always, there is a truth within consultancy, which is the more you pay, the less you get. So the more expensive a document, the less is in it, because the consultancy therefore has to go through and make judgment calls about what is pertinent, and therefore that takes extra time. A cheaper document, which looks like this, is that you just dump everything into it in one and then don't filter it. That is true. That's understandable, but there is a responsibility at least for there to be a slide deck PDF that goes through the key points, that pulls out the key points. And so it's frustrating. So, challenges. 34% of the landmass of Wales and home to over 200,000 people, but that population is dipping a little bit, so it's dropping by nominal, well, not really much, to be honest, a fractional decrease. The reduction is closely linked to the age structure and future age trends predictions in the region. For example, Mid Wales has a particularly high proportion of residents aged 65 and over, with Powys having the highest proportion of all local authorities in Wales. Also, what is this figure and why have they just screenshotted the entire... This is shocking. This should be... Why have you kept the border text structure in? It should be the whole thing. It's on an A4... Just absolute 101 formatting stuff. Yes. So let's see. So... so the estimate there'll be a 16% decline in working age. Counties both have very low population densities, dispersed settlements, heavily reliant on employment services and facilities within the larger towns in the region. The ability of rural communities to access these services is essential in protecting and enhancing the well-being of those who live in Mid Wales. So transport is critical in accessing services, education, commerce. The rural nature of these two areas, Celtic and Powys, is recognised in their respective local development plans, recognised that rurality significantly affects economic, environmental, cultural and social well-being. Absolutely. Talk about the main towns, Aberaeron, Aberystwyth, Brecon, Builthwells, including Llanelwedd, they've said Cardigan, they've said the English, which is a bit random. Knighton, Lampeter, Llandrindod, Dodwells, Llandysul, Machynlleth, Newtown, Tregaron, Welshpool, and Ystrad Gynlais. Is that not Ystrad and Gynlais? Gynlais? Maybe it is Gynlais. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've driven through or got the train near there. Stakeholder engagement has highlighted that in Powys there are plans to increase the focus of service delivery through hubs and localities with main towns identified as... Yeah, and I have to say, I agree with that. I think the cost-effective way to deliver services is to improve transport provision. It's much cheaper than dispersing services. Improve transport provision because you get a lot of benefits that aren't just about the service provision by improving the transport provision and then focusing the service provision in hubs where you get some level of economy of scale. That works for some services. It doesn't work for all services. Some services have to be dispersed. But focusing on the services that you can kind of cluster into the big towns helps you to then manage resources for the services that have to be dispersed. So there's an eternal challenge. We talked about this in the Isles Connectivity review, that this is an eternal push-pull and challenge. So there's a discussion about the criticality of roads and the road network. Absolutely. It's all single carriageways. When you have a look at this, when traffic incidences occur, I think you mean incidents, but anyway, there can be many hours of delay and extremely long diversions south of Merthyr, so on and so on. So the challenges associated with the single carriageway network and the geography, as we saw in Scotland, of one road gets severed and you've got enormous diversions to get around the hills. That's true for this whole area. It very much defines the geography of this area. So lots of discussion about highway network there, yep. The importance of Mid Wales in connecting the nation was highlighted during stakeholder engagement, absolutely, because everything has to go through Mid Wales, which is important. So again, a bit like the Scottish discussion, we've got that. Abertavy, thank you. Yes, Gareth, you're right. I caught myself because I was like, no, it's not Cardigan. What about? It's Abertavy is the name of Cardigan. Thank you, Gareth. Very kind. Catching me. I've just bloody ages since I've been to Wales with the little one being around. So yeah, she hasn't been to Wales. So anyway, I digress. As we talked about in the Scottish the Scottish rural story we were describing. The conflict between long distance and local services, as we talk about on the railways all the time, is absolutely true for local transport, independent of form of mobility. So we've got to think about mobility in totality, and that conflict between national and local is absolutely the case in Wales, and causes problems, particularly in terms of goods movements on the strategic road network. Again, this is an awful map. Who did this map? It's dreadful. Why is the boundary thicker than the roads? What are you trying to tell me? What's going on here? This is just a useless map. This is just a load of squiggles on it. What's the story you're telling here? So I have to say, this is like 2 Pandrel clips being knocked off levels of bad news. Actually, I have to say, like this is to the point of making the document difficult, really difficult to use. Not good. So I'm definitely knocking off losing another Pandrel clip there for this one. So we're down to 3. I don't think it's going to redeem itself, I fear. So the rural nature of the area affects the availability of bus services. Now, why is that? It's because they're provided by private operators who have stripped back the service relentlessly for decades. And why is the caretaker and parish border highlighted when it's a report on an area? Yeah, quite. It's just a bit strange. It's just very strange what they're doing. It's just an intimidating structure of document, this. Why are the paragraphs numbered? Again, this could be the backup document, but the consultation document should be a separate, cleaner, accessible piece of visual work that enables an easy access to the information for people who are intimidated by picking up a report that has things like paragraph 4 3 or 4 level paragraph numbering. And also, why is the footer, a fifth of the page? It's just, it's bad. And I know I'm going on about this, but I'm sorry, it is important. The way that things look and the way that you communicate ideas and concepts and information like this, particularly for a consultation that is supposed to be accessible to people, the public should be able to understand, comprehend this and make their own views. Who in the public is going to look at this document and pull out any useful information out of it? Nobody. It's extremely frustrating. So, okay, it's talking about railways, talking about strategic bus corridors that have had investment from Welsh Government to improve shelters and implement level boarding. Oh, look, the word level boarding there used. That's good. So there's data here, and all right, so we have our first diagram that's starting to look like something that's more familiar to some of our analysis that we did on developing the Welsh transport network. We have existing flows, interregional flows within Wales, and you can see that there are major flows from the southwest to along the south coast. So this kind of Swansea, Cardiff, nominally, like obviously more towns and cities between, but nominally that connection, and then major connections from Swansea up into the heart of Wales as well. So it's a major axis of travel there, which is very interesting regionally, and then much smaller numbers that are going all the way from like Cardiff and Newport to the north. With that, yeah, so it's not the clearest document, but a better document. But again, this is a slide that they have PNG'd and dumped into a Word document. This should be at the bottom. These should be at the top, formatted differently. Why have you put a screenshotted slide into a Word document? This is appalling. This is not good. Cross-border connectivity is also very important in accessing key services, as residents within Mid Wales are often required to travel out of the area to access healthcare and education. For example, those within Powys are required to travel to other parts of Wales or across the border to England for hospital appointments. Similarly, residents in Ceredigion often have to travel to hospital appointments in Carmarthen or Swansea, a long journey time. Absolutely. So this is kind of painting the picture of the challenges, and you've got another slide copy-pasted in. Why has this been done? Describing interregional flows to from and within Wales, and you've got some nice daily trips painting the picture of the density of patterns of service. And firstly, you can see the volume of travellers interregionally between Northwest England and North Wales. Seriously, major bit of travel flow. This is 2022, of course, so numbers not representative of what's going on today. Let's see. So Detour is standing by figure and table numbers on public-facing publications. So Detour, I would say this document is fine as a back end that people can open up if they want to, but there should be a document that has all the information in it, but in a much more clearly and a more approachably formatted document, a visually appealing and something that's exciting to energize people about a subject that's incredibly important to their livelihoods and their futures. So this is, I'm fine with this document, even looking like this as a back end, but there should be a cleaner, better formatted version that people can access. That's the primary consultation document for people to comment on. I think that's really key. So you don't have to get rid of this, but there should be a better, more accessible version. I think for something that's being, who is the audience of this document? You don't need the paragraph numbers. You don't need the tables and figure numbers for this for what this document is being used for. People can just refer to page numbers if they really want to refer to specific information that's in here. But I would say there's also too much information in here for a consultation, for a primary public-facing consultation document as well. This is a back-end document, not a public-facing document. We're already, we're 8 pages in, and we're still, story being painted, but it's not. I would also be front, and the other thing about these documents is they've done the standard A-level science report thing of, here's all my information about how I'm deciding what I'm going to do, then I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it, then I'm going to give a conclusion, then I'm going to give, before that I must do the results. Nope. Tell people what you need them to hear first. What are you proposing? And then follow it up with the workings. But put the actual information that needs to be consulted on at the start, not the data that derives it. Again, think about who the audience and think about what they need to see. They need to see the thing that they're being asked to understand. I feel very strongly about this because I think communicating these ideas is done extremely poorly, and it's why and engaging the public, as you'll know if you read the book, engaging the public in consultations is an extremely important part of democracy, and we are very, very bad at it in the UK. Very, very bad. So let's whiz on. Okay, so fine. There's strategies. There's the plan period. So and the elements, and this is already. This is the most graphic thing we've seen so far, and it's black text with just little coloured outlines, and those colours don't mean anything, and it's just really shoddy. Long-term vision and objectives, go into policies, go into schemes. Well, yes, I think that is what they're saying, but again, I hate underline anywhere. That's just not a thing you should ever do in a document. It's really obnoxious to read. Underlining is for documents you have written in hand. Do not use underline in actual documents that are using an actual, word processor from after 1980, because you do not need underline. Underlining is what you do when that's the only thing you can do to make your text stand out with a ruler. You don't need to do it on underline. The button should be not included in bloody Word documents. Anyway, lacks density. Yeah, fine, okay. So they're giving the example there. Fine, okay, yeah, agree with that logic. Well, they've got issues in current situation. That's not the example I would use. I would say, what is total mobility? What does it need to be? Yeah, okay, fine. Links to Welsh government priorities, right? Okay, so we're going to jump through this. There's the sustainable transport hierarchy. I'm glad that's been referenced. That's good. Again, just copy pasted as an image from the internet and put in a Welsh government document. Welsh government policies and plans, fine, and the relationship between them, fine. Yeah, that is basically the way that you. But again, like, yeah, fine. A more in-depth overview of each of these regional local plans is included in appendix. What's more in-depth than this? Okay. Engagement. Okay, so a whole section on engagement. Stakeholder engagement has been crucial at all stages of the development of this. Okay, fine. Issues and opportunities. So this is just breaking out further what we've been discussing about the lack of ability to. Well, this is a deprivation chart, one that the likes that we've used. Will Deakins, generated some of these, and we've used these for kind of some RailNatter assessments of issues we've got across the country. Deprivation is a key thing to understand. Access to key towns. So here's some nice isochrones that have been done. Here again, why is this the format copy pasted from an A3 PDF into a Word document? This is shocking. Yeah, I have to say I despair at this document. It's frustrating because there's clearly going to be some good information here, and diagrams like this are excellent, but it doesn't need to. This should be a full page. This should be a full look. If I do this and remind us what this, these. Some of these sort of visualizations can and should look like is we're talking about. Sorry, I'm flicking through pages. I should have pre-warned you, but like the visualization thing about the receptors. This is, you do a full page like this. This is what you do. This is what the document should look like. It should look like this. It should be clear. It should be labeled, but it should be the full page, not squeezed into the narrow kind of page. The narrow page margins of a shy old. Word document template. It's a very frustrating way to communicate this information. Anyway, so yeah, this is isochrones about public transport access, and you can see that it's like a desert, and then a few areas where there are centres of population that just have extremely limited access to public transport. It's a good document, but look at it. It's impossible to read at this. It's just not. And I think. What's going on here? Okay. Oh, good. Oh, this is just because Edge is useless. I miss having a full Adobe Acrobat license, but you know what? It's overpriced, and Adobe, you suck. Right, case for change. Summary of regional challenges and issues. So, yeah, okay, we know the case for change. We know all this stuff. There's some stuff about car dependency. Powers to the local authority with the highest percentage of households with 3 or more cars in Wales, compared to 13.2% in Ceredigion and 10.7% across Wales as a whole. So, yeah, serious dependence on cars, and that means people have a higher percentage of their income going on transport, because that's the inevitability of... car reliance, is that people have to spend more on a large percentage of their income, and therefore that pushes more people into transport poverty. Gareth's asking my opinion of swapping between portrait and landscape for diagrams, maps, charts. Bad. If you're going to do it like we just looked at the Leeds document, which is that you have a portrait document, but it's split over 2 pages because you format it as if it's a printed brochure, and you set up the PDF unlike the one that I ripped off the internet, which is why that other PDF is a bit weird. It's because I've ripped off the internet in a funny way, because bad mark at West Yorkshire Mass Transit is that PDF was not available just to download as a PDF easily, which is why it's weird like that. But if it was a proper PDF, downloadable, not ripped off the internet, those 2 pages would be next to each other, and it would work better. And you can set that up very easily when you do your PDF outputting. And again, a consultancy should know how to make documents, because that's all consultancies do, is make documents. And if you can't make documents that look good, what are you for? Anyway, so yeah, there's all the key stuff about economic challenges of limited transport and so on. Public transport is a challenge. Bus services are very limited across the county, especially for the more rural areas. And what else is here? Car ownership high, reflects rural nature. Lack of alternative sustainable travel options can lead to problems in accessing services. EVs may reduce the negative impacts of private car travel in more rural areas. However, current levels of deprivation, lack of existing EV infrastructure, and concerns of distance range limit desire to buy EVs, and also they're extremely expensive. That's making things worse, not better. EVs will not help many, if any, issues here, other than the carbon intensity of the emissions of the transport system, which is frankly not the major problem really for this rural area, because the emissions from the driving are much higher per capita, but in absolute terms, they're not the major source of emissions. Those major source of emissions are the A50 in Derbyshire, chock-a-block with cars, and that kind of road spread across the whole of mostly England, but also the central belt of Scotland and the busy parts of Wales. It's not the rural roads in rural areas that are the source of the major source of those carbon emissions. Goods travel across this area, though, is a major source of carbon emissions that should be resolved, and can be. If there is a rail network, it should be used. So it's just going through all the challenges, and we don't need to dwell on these, because I'm sure we've talked about a lot of these. We know the story of this. Resilience is a key one. I'm glad they've picked up on this, and relying on the road network as they have, but also the challenge of the rail network. The resilience of the transport network is really poor. And also safety. If you rely on roads, safety is pretty poor on the road network in this area, and it's only going to get worse. Gareth, do report back on the full Adobe Acrobat for 20 quid. Yeah, I'm interested. Anyway, I've tried lots of alternatives. The one I currently have is what is the one I have? Is it Foxit, or what's I do have a PDF editor on here, and I do find it mostly quite disappointing still. Nothing is as good as Acrobat, even if Acrobat is constantly pinging me with nonsense about AI. Right, let's escape and go back to the full page, because this Edge cannot cope with PDFs with diversity of landscape and portrait. Vision and objectives. Okay, we've only just got to the vision and objectives. This feels like a thing that should be on page 1, not page 33 of 62. We're more than halfway through the document, and we've only just got to the point of the part where they say what the objectives of this whole process are. This should all be the start, not buried in the middle of it. Come on. So it's talking about, it's access for all, choose more sustainable transport and travel options, strategic transport connectivity improves, strategic modal shift, yep, good to see that, levels of walking, cycling, wheeling improved, reduce environment. See, this is a thing that you could have red down, green up, or, you could have a better, less monochromatism, anti-monochromatism palette, but you could have a graphic format of this, but instead they've got the ticker from Word documents in the 90s as the list here. To reduce the environmental impacts of transport, fine, yep. Improve resilience, safety, and make better use of the existing transport system, absolutely. And improve interchange and integration, yeah, those are all absolutely laudable aims. Fully support all of those. Right, now we're into a chapter on interdependencies in the scope of the MWRTP, and we still haven't learned about what's being proposed. And we're on page 35 of 62, and we have a wall of acronyms. Look at all the acronyms as well. You need to actively seek to... So, for example, the MWRTP, they should not have used the acronym. They should have said the plan, and said anywhere where you have the word plan, the plan being referred to, and yes, you can capitalize it in this instance. I wouldn't mind that, although mostly I hate it. You could refer to it as the plan, much less intimidating, much more accessible. I look, this is a classic document. Like 1, 2, this is like, there are as many acronyms as there are other words on here. SRN, RTP, RTDP. Don't just find better ways of communicating this information. There are better ways to write this stuff out. And particularly in a document that, again, I'll reiterate, is for the maximum number of people in the public to engage with, to read, to appreciate, to understand. So they're just talking about some projects, and there are a few projects going on. There's a limited number of AFA schemes going on. Newtown, which is good. One station, spectacular, incredible. Introduction of additional rail services on the Heart of Wales line, which includes 1 train per day and 2 trains per day for part of the route. Additional services, 4 additional services between Aberdeen and Shrewsbury, and 2 services up the coast to, well, not quite up the top, but out to Tywyn from Llanlleth. Fine. So they're just sort of, again, like the service frequencies are not great. They're not great, but also when you look at other rural parts of the world, they're still pretty spectacular. I don't think that's an excuse, but still. So it's like fine. And again, like, why do you need the NTDP reference for the public? This is not a document that is set up for the audience that are receiving it. It's Right, so develop the case for change. Yeah, fine. Okay, so there's a load of stuff. There's the Trunk Road Modal Shift Programme, including development of sustainable, strategically aligned interventions subject to funding. Yeah, good. A487 Fishguard to Cardigan is an example. Yes, the roads review, cross-border schemes. Yeah, fine. Okay, so there's a load of stuff here as well. Okay, yeah, this is just, I don't really know what this section is saying. Okay, so then we've got a thing on policies. What? Okay. So now we've got a whole section on policies. Oh my God, they're including all the policies and the accessibility policies. Again, important, but this should be covered by the objective. Covers what this. You don't need to break down the things underneath the objective for the plan, unless this is all the plan is the objectives. But this is strategic. This is not. Yeah. Okay. So all sorts of stuff in here that's just not pertinent for what this document should be telling us. Modal shift policies and. Work to achieve a modal shift in the region. No specific numbers, though, here. Appear to be none, not a single number in the actual modal shift targets there, which is frustrating. Without a number, you can't measure that whether it's been a success or not, and whether the policy is working, whether you need to do more or can do less. Environmental policy, yeah, so all these policies in a whole chapter in this document. And here we are, 7 statutory checks. Oh, boy. Oh, a graphic, although it's a screenshot. Please don't do screenshots. If you have text, it should never be an image in a document. It should be text so that it can be scaled so that screen readers can read it. This is a page that is totally inaccessible because screen readers cannot read any of it. This is shit. This is bad. To the point where I'm tempted to take a 3rd Pandrel clip off for this. That's a lot of information that is just unreadable to a large chunk of the population. Regional Transport Delivery Plan. Oh, okay. So are we at the point where we're is this it now? Are we into it? Okay, so there's an overview of the plan. Doesn't look like an overview of the plan. Plan's geographic. Feels like a plan should be a map. Funding the regional transport. Okay, funding it. That you can put that later. Oh, there's some graphs talking about funding. Total funding allocation, percentage of Wales funding. Okay, so there's like some ebbs and flows based on presumably some of the projects that are going on at the moment. Various grants go into various things here. Okay. What is the plan though? There's the funding allocation with a slide that has been screenshotted and dumped in that is telling us very little of value. What's this graph? What's this pie chart actually usefully telling us? Not much. It could be, all of this could be like an infographic rather than all this text. It's just more text. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Overview the right. Funding the okay. So what's the plan then? What are you going to do? Okay. Now into monitoring and evaluation. Okay, tell me what the monitoring frequency is going to be. Tell me what the date by which you're going to do the first review, what the following review is going to be, and do it in a graphic form. There's not a single date here, okay? Oh, and that's the end. Oh. Well, okay. So I am extremely disappointed in this document. I have to say, extremely. What's happening? What's happening? What's it doing? What's the plan? What is the plan? Okay. I'm honestly baffled. I said this is going to be an hour one, and we're going to manage it. You know what? I am absolutely stumped. That's the document, folks. I don't know what it's saying. There were like 3 pages dedicated to the chapter that says what the plan is, and I'm not being obtuse, but I didn't get anything out of what the plan is there. A plan involves some targets, some numbers, some geographically located proposals. This didn't say any of that. This is... Have I misinterpreted what this is for? But if you've said it's a plan, it should say it should say it's doing something. It should say what it's going to do. I am going to struggle to give this anything. It's dreadful. I'm extremely disappointed. I didn't expect this. I was kind of excited to be like, oh, we're going to have some things we can talk about. It's going to be really positive. Nothing. There's nothing about like what we need. There was no assessment of what, like, well, we need to have an increase in frequency. You know, overall mobility is this, and therefore we've decided we're going to have this mobility here and this mobility there. This is, if it's supposed to be if this is a terms of reference document, a few people in the chat saying, rightly saying some local authority paid for this and presumably lost months they could have spent making an actual plan. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the challenge, is that councils have been decimated. They have no internal capacity, and so they can just base all they have are the consultancies to give the money to create the documents. And if they've got a monopoly situation where it's based on what consultancy is interested in getting involved, and that consultancy is just like, oh, we've been given 25k, we've been given 45k, we've been given 65k, 70-page document, whatever, it's fine. Knock it out. This is really, really poor. I'm not going to give it 0 because there are some mentions of things like overboarding. There are some mentions of modal shift. There's clearly some intent in amongst this, but I have to say, what is the RailNat rating for Mid Wales's draft regional transport plan? That's an extremely loud explosion noise. That's right, it's a half Pandroclip. Is that the lowest rating for any document we've given? I'm extraordinarily disappointed in this. This is shockingly bad. This isn't a reflection on that local authority. I think I'm appalled that nothing is going out to consultation. It's not said anything. It's not said what's happening. It's not said anything about what are their strategic corridors going to be? What are their prioritizations going to be for where they prioritize national? How are they going to segregate national and local transport? I don't know. It might well be hidden within the text, but I am... Any bets on if any of those graphs diagrams have alt text? Let's just go and have a look, shall we? Let's have a look at this one. I'm going to hover my mouse over it because that's how you'll see the alt text. That's a no. There is no alt text. So, I am shocked and appalled at the poor quality of this document. Absolutely dreadful. I am... Yeah, nothing about bus franchising 2026, says Adam Mortimer. Is that low rating based on format or lack of meaningful context? A mixture. Format for me is absolutely part of how I rate a document. If a document is poorly laid out, then the information is not accessible. It might as well not have good information in it. But so I would say that 2 Pandroclips have been knocked off for formatting, but the rest have been knocked off for... the remaining 2.5 Pandroclips have been lost for the fact that there doesn't appear to be a plan. There is no plan. There is not a thing. You cannot list off 10 things that are happening as part of the plan. Or I couldn't, looking at this. There's no obvious... If you have a plan for transport, there should be a map. You should have a map. There should be a map. And the map should tell people what's happening. Even if there is nothing linear, you can pick out with some nice graphics going, we're doing this here, we're doing this here, and it enables this, it enables this, it enables this flow. Where are the maps? Where's the map? Where is the map saying, this is our area, here is diagrammatically or geographically what the transport networks are, these are the core strategic routes, this is how they were going to facilitate goods movement, they're lucky they're getting the half Pandroclip. Shocked? I didn't expect that. I didn't come into this expecting to be marking it down. I'm really surprised. JC Vastgoid, I'm not quite sure what you mean. Eno is saying this is a 10-year plan and they can't even point at like a station renovation or some nice new buses. No, there's one station renovation. They're doing an AFA at Newtown. Yeah, like, is there going to be uniform branding? Is there? I just don't know any of it because the structure of the document is such that it's not picked into any of it. I am. Well, I'm not lost for words because I've just spent 55 minutes talking about it, but it's pretty shocking. Let's come back to it. Thoughts on a postcard. At my name if you've got questions or thoughts you want me to see and read out. There are 9 appendices on Critical Simon. Yes, there are. Daniel Smith, if you need 2 pages defining the TLA list, then your document isn't suitable for the general public. Absolutely. As ever, this Rail Natter is available on all podcasting platforms. Do leave a review. It helps. The algorithm enjoys that. Leave a little comment on our questions. Spotify for podcasters. Send me a little question if you ask me a question. I don't know about the others. You can do the same on Podbean. I put it into Podbean, put it behind the curtain. I dump it into Podbean, and it disperses it out to the many podcasting platforms out there. The usual plugs. Patreon.com/Gareth Dennis. Gareth Dennis.co.uk/merch. PayPal.me/Gareth Dennis and GarethDennis.co.uk/Discord for, respectively, supporting these things happening. Buying merchandise, of which new merchandise will be coming. PayPal.me/Gareth Dennis is where you can throw loose change of use happening, of course, the Discord server. Continuing ad infinitum. A note on this, which is thank you so much for your patience in having the 2 weeks off. The ability for me to take a break here and there when I'm not able to get you content is really important, particularly at the moment. It's been a hectic couple of months since I've started this job, and I'm in a busy part of the role that I'm in currently as I'm travelling around a lot. I don't intend that to be the norm because it's not compatible with my home life hugely, not on a long-term sustained basis in any case. So a bit of stability will reign, and I will get myself in order, sit down, look at my calendar, and invite us some bloody guests, because I've missed having some cool guests on for you to talk to. So that's my fault for being disorganized, stressed out, and generally anxiety-ridden. So thank you for that. Yes, the tour is happening. Talking of dates and stress and anxiety, the tour will be happening. I will be going around the UK. No, I will be going around England, Wales, and Scotland. And talking about the book, telling you things about the book, having conversations with cool people about the book, and questions about the future of the railways. For Rail 200, it's a year to be talking about such things. Those dates. I'll remind you. Although there are 10 locations that we mentioned a couple of episodes ago that you can find and go through. I'll put them on next week. I'll remind you what the locations are, and I'll start getting an idea of what those dates look like as well. Next week. Oh yeah, so a reminder, Trash Future I was on recently, and the PWI episode, which you can go in and watch. Actually, you know what? PWI YouTube. Let's go and see if it's convention. Yeah, here we are. Look at this.
The Young Rail Professional Distinguished Service Award winner, the first time ever last year.
Yeah.
He's a podcast host of Rail Natter.
It's me. That's Louise, my secretary. Thanks, Louise. Shout out. Let's see the future. It's me demonstrating a Railway 200 presentation. About thinking about a bit of an oxymoron. It's me presenting a thing. Anyway, you can go watch this. It's some fun stuff. It's the usual fun stuff that you'd expect from me speaking a load of nonsense about transport. Why is this here? Anyway, it is there. But at this point, it becomes a bit of a history battle of, well, what do we mean? Anyway, so that's me waffling. So yeah, if you want to enjoy some of that, go and have a bit of fun. Everyone wants me to get a resong from Arm Transit. Yes, I absolutely need to do that. Yes, for sure. But next week, episode 254 is we're going to have some fun. We're going to have a fun one. Urban transport in Dubai and what's stupid about a lot of it. We're going to use the Not a Metro sorter, and we're going to go through some of the junk that's been announced as the new transport strategy in Dubai and what they're going to do with it, and what's junk, what's less junk but silly, and what's really junk and we should very much laugh at it and its unviability and madness. That's a bit of fun that we're going to have next week, and I'm looking forward to it. Let's get my large face. Hello, everyone. So, here we go. Adam Mortimer is saying, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts when the South West Wales plan comes out. It's currently under consultation. Franchising is coming, supposedly in 2027. Very keen to pick that up when it comes through. Daniel Smith, coming of Reese. Yes, Reese, I did read that, didn't I, a minute ago. There we go. It's 2100 exactly. Are we going to wrap this up in the hour? Everyone. Oh my goodness. The odd air-conditioned trams. Air-conditioned tram stops. Cameron Black, yeah. You better bet there's going to be air conditioning going on. Katie Fenn, hello. Oh, Katie Fenn, yes. Well, someone else I had a conversation with. Katie, I need to get you on to do the chef. Yes, I've reminded myself of the conversation we were having. We'll organise things. Organising anything is difficult with the world being absolutely messed up. Yeah, it is, because I feel crushed by the world, but also crushed by my own lack of organisational skills and all the things that are going on. Oh, there's much going on. MAIB report. Oh, that's something else that we need to pick up. I do need to pick up the Quackers MAIB report, actually, Gareth. I think that'd be quite interesting. You know what? Chuck me some thoughts in the Discord, and we'll maybe do that in a couple of episodes. Because I'm interested to do an incident report that isn't... That's yes. See. There we go. Yeah, Ina pointing out, you missed the important info in the wall of text. You're absolutely right. I'm going to wave. I'm waving my... YRP award is waving. They Them Miles is waving, and my BR, my old BR bib is also waving. Yeah, that's right. Where's the? I've got the label here, so you can enjoy the label. Look at this. This gives you an idea of the age of this document. The age of this thing. Look at this. This is old. Look at this. The question is, can I wear this and nothing else? No. Right, enough of that. So I like finding fun old railway stuff that I like and find interesting, and it's silly. I'm going to wave. I'm going to wave vigorously. I will see you all very soon. It's an absolute joy to have had you back and joining and having you all join me. And I will see you next week for some laughing at some bad transport ideas and despairing at why they exist. Cheerio!